President William Ruto has reshuffled his cabinet, or has he? On the day of the reshuffle, a news flash had indicated that he was going to do so. The country waited with bated breath. People moved very close to their television sets and radio sets. But when the announcement was finally made, not only was it anticlimax, but you could see the disappointment. In other words, people were looking for action. The president disappointed. He didn't give them action. I would want to remind the president that when you set out to do something and either fail to do it or do it halfway, you invite trouble for yourself and to yourself. The second thing I want to remind the president is whenever a country's people demand changes, take that demand seriously. We learn from history that the moment you begin to give piecemeal changes is a moment you are inviting trouble. King Louis XVI, the French president during the French Revolution, realized that the French people were serious about the demand for change. He realized when it was too late and began to give in to the demands and give the changes but piecemeal. The consequences are recorded in history. I very much believe that if the French king had understood the mood of the people, if he had acted at the time he was supposed to act, if he had introduced the changes he later introduced at the time he was supposed to have introduced them, the course of history would have been different. The country yearns for change. Why were people glued to their television sets and radio sets? Why was Kenya holding its breath, waiting for the reshuffle? In the Kenyan language, reshuffle means removing some ministers, bringing others in, not changing the same ministers. Why were people waiting for? And I want to bring this to the attention of the President of the Republic of Kenya. The country is hurting. People are angry. People are hungry. To know that this country is hurting, look no further than the armies of young men and women jobless, a good number of them with college education. A country with a small population like Kenya, hardly 50 million people, having millions of jobless young people, is a country hanging on a cliff of disaster. The rich and the influential in this country, who continue to live a life of plenty, conspicuous consumption, enjoying living in the leafy suburbs, are living a dream, is an illusion. An illusion that you will continue enjoying your stolen money and largesse as millions of Kenya languish in poverty is basically an illusion that will not work for you. So there's pain in this country because of joblessness. There is the pain of Kenyans watching helplessly as loved ones die in their presence. Children die in the laps of their mothers because the mothers cannot take them to hospital. That is the country we are talking about. By World Bank statistics and Kenya government statistics, economic surveys, a frightening number of Kenyans in their millions can hardly afford a meal, and many of them go to bed hungry. Almost half of the population of this country live below $1 a day. If you are looking for the reason why Kenyans are hurting and angry, look no further than that. If you want to know what I'm saying is true, stay for a week or so in the countryside, and if you don't go into depression, then you are not a human being. The pain you'll witness, the suffering in the countryside, in the villages of this country, will send an insane man into depression. Kenyans who have sold land and the little they had. I know families who sold everything they had are even squatters to take children to university. They watch these children join the armies of jobless children, some of who never went to school. So you take your child to university at great pain. You see that child joining others who never went to school in looking even for the simplest of jobs. Only recently the government was recruiting KDF, Kenya Defense Forces. I understand there were about 350 positions. We saw a crowd of thousands of young people. Not so long ago, a hotel was advertising positions, maybe 30, 20. We saw thousands of young people. A security company was advertising position for guards. There were thousands of university graduates queuing to become security guards. That is the country I'm talking about. And this is the country that expects the president to be aware of this. And therefore, when the people of Kenya heard the president was going to reshuffle his cabinet, there was going to be change in cabinet, they expected that the president was finally in touch with the reality, that the president was feeling them, and that he was going to put together a team of men and women who could help the country navigate through these tough times. As if we do not have enough local problems, the international economic order is in a mess. And therefore, some of the challenges we are facing and will continue to face in the future, in fact, the near future, are hardships, economic hardships, brought by global factors beyond our control. You can therefore imagine when these global factors come to bear on us, when we can't even handle the local problems we have, whether we shall not collapse as a people. And therefore, the people expected the president to come up with a cabinet to help him, because we believe he's well-intentioned. He feels for this country, that he will put up a team of men and women able to help him mitigate the challenges we face as a country. That was extremely disappointing. I know there's a politics of the cabinet reshuffle. I know there's being clever, moving one person from here, moving Kuria to remove the embarrassment that he causes the government, especially because that docket puts him face to face with foreigners. And we saw when the trade secretary from the US came, she couldn't meet him. She didn't hide it. When the president went to America with a trade delegation, he didn't carry Kuria. Aden Mohammed was indeed introduced as trade CS. So by removing Kuria, you handle that problem. But you create a bigger problem. You create a bigger problem by taking him to public service and removing delivery and performance contracting from Mudavadi and giving it to him. Moses Kuria will over-interpret that docket, and he will be an irritant. And in 2 months' time, like he says, we will want to move him. Then the most laughable is the Mudavadi one. The only positive thing about the Mudavadi reshuffle, the new portfolio, is that for the first time now, Mudavadi will not be a stranger in cabinet. With a cabinet portfolio, he sits in cabinet as of right. And anybody who has taken a case like this to court is dead on arrival. The only thing the president will need to do is to designate Mudavadi first as cabinet secretary and only second as those other things, and you are home and dry. But there are winners also. And I've said it in another number of forums, including X. The winner here is Rigathi Gachagua, who has managed cleverly to send Mudavadi into the skies, leaving the ground clear for him, Rigathi Gachagua. There is no way Mudavadi as foreign secretary will have the time to play local politics. And for that reason, Rigathi Gachagua and the Wetangula will have a field day, with the Wetangula certainly dominating Western politics. So those celebrating Mudavadi's new portfolio have another thing coming, as Americans will say. But it's also laughable. Because if the president wanted to give Mudavadi something, why not give him finance, where he has a proven track record? Mudavadi took over the finance docket at a time the country was going through such a turbulence as we are going today. And therefore, one will be confident that Mudavadi at Treasury could help steer this country out of this mess. But to send him into the skies? Moreover, how would then Mudavadi, while operating from the skies and foreign lands, be able to supervise cabinet? In a sense, you are saying Moses Kuria is going to be supervising cabinet because, not just because of that addition has been given in that public service portfolio of the government delivery and performance contracting, but because Mudavadi will be nowhere to be seen. And that void will be very effectively occupied by Moses Kuria. So if the president wanted Mudavadi to be useful, and if he wanted to help Salim Mudavadi, he would have given him finance. It's a docket from which he can make contribution. It will leave him on the ground to build his political stature. He will continue supervising the ministries and not Moses Kuria. But by and large, just to repeat what I've said, this so-called reshuffle was a big disappointment. And the message to the President of the Republic of Kenya: listen to the voice and cries of your people. It does not cost anybody anything to listen. And if the President listens to the people of this country, using whatever means he has, including the intelligence, including grassroots politicians and leaders, he would know that, one, the people know they are suffering because the president doesn't have men and women to help him mitigate the challenges, to help him run the government. And the sooner the president realizes that, the better for everybody, the president and the people of this country. That is important to have people, one, who will inspire confidence. By removing this cabinet and coming up with men and women, you create confidence among the people. You create hope that tomorrow is a better day. And the two, using that team of effective men and women, the challenges that we face today can be handled effectively. Because like I've said elsewhere, today's cabinet meeting, in the circumstances we find ourselves, is supposed to be a cabinet meeting where people live with headache. A cabinet meeting where after 1 hour, some people are walking out. Not because they have business to attend to, because they can't take the heat. The headache is too much. Because of the issues cabinet will be dealing with to save this country from collapse. And therefore, certainly, I join other Kenyans in saying the president really disappointed us with this so-called cabinet reshuffle.